Hello, we're excited to show you our native speech capabilities. Welcome back to the English journey. Today, we are exploring a quiet strength that can change how the world sees you. I'm Anna.
And I'm Abel. Most people think they need to speak loudly to be heard. Today we will show you why staying calm is the most powerful thing you can do, and we will teach you the English to describe it.
So, Abel, let me ask you something right away. When you walk into a room and someone is very calm, very quiet, and very still, what do you feel?
Honestly, I feel a little nervous. I want to know what they are thinking. There is something about a calm person that makes you pay attention to them. You cannot help it.
That is exactly what we are talking about today. We call it being unnaturally calm. And by unnaturally, we do not mean something strange or wrong. We mean a level of calmness that goes beyond what most people expect. Most people around us are reacting to everything. Their phone makes a sound and they jump. Someone says something unkind and they immediately say something back. Someone gives them a problem and they show panic on their face right away. But there are some people who do not do this. They hear the noise, they see the problem, and they simply pause. They breathe. They choose how to respond. And when you're surrounded by people who are always reacting, a person who does not react immediately looks almost like a different kind of human being. They look powerful. They look safe. They look unshakable.
I love that word, unshakable. Let us learn that one. Unshakable. Say it slowly. Unshake-able. If something is unshakable, it cannot be moved or disturbed. Think of a very heavy rock sitting on the ground. You push it and it does not move. That rock is unshakable. Now imagine a person who is like that rock. Someone says something mean to them and they do not fall apart. They do not cry or shout or run away. They stay still. They stay grounded. That person is unshakable.
And unshakable does not mean you do not feel things. This is very important for us to understand. Being calm does not mean you are cold or that you have no emotions. It means you are in control of your emotions, rather than your emotions being in control of you. There's a very big difference. Think about it this way. You can feel the waves of the ocean inside you. You can feel sadness, you can feel frustration, you can feel disappointment. But on the surface, on the outside, you are still. The water is calm on top, even if there is movement below. That is the superpower we are talking about today.
You know, Anna, I was not always like this. I used to be someone who reacted very fast. If someone said something I did not like, my face would show it immediately. If someone challenged me in a conversation, I would talk faster and louder because I thought that was how you showed confidence. But the truth is, talking fast and loud is often a sign of panic. It can show that you are afraid of silence. It can show that you are afraid of losing control of the conversation.
That is such an honest observation, Abel, and I think many people listening right now will feel the same way. They've been in conversations where they felt the need to fill every silence with words, and this is very natural. Silence can feel uncomfortable, but over time, we learn that silence is not empty. Silence is full of power.
So let us now talk about one of the most important ideas in today's episode. We call it the reaction gap. The reaction gap is the space of time between when something happens to you and when you choose to respond. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you are at work. Your colleague says something that feels unfair or unkind. Maybe they take credit for your idea in a meeting. In that moment, what happens inside you? Your heart beats faster, your mind starts racing, you want to speak, you want to defend yourself. You feel the reaction rising up inside you like a wave.
Most people in that moment let the wave crash immediately. They speak quickly, they show their emotions on their face, they react without thinking. And sometimes this reaction is not the best response. Sometimes it makes the situation worse. Sometimes you say something you later regret. Sometimes you look less confident than you actually are, simply because you reacted without pausing first.
But the reaction gap is the space between the wave rising and the wave crashing. It's the moment where you have a choice. You can choose to let the wave crash, or you can choose to breathe, pause, and then respond with intention, with purpose, with calmness.
The word intention is important here. Let's look at it. Intention means doing something on purpose with a clear reason. When you respond with intention, you aren't just speaking because you feel emotional. You're speaking because you have chosen your words carefully. You are choosing what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. This is the reaction gap in action. And the more you practice making that space, that pause, that breath, the wider the gap becomes and the more control you have.
I practice this now. When someone says something that upsets me, I count slowly in my mind. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes just 3 seconds is enough to change a reaction into a response. A reaction is automatic. A response is chosen. Both words look similar in English, but their meanings are very different in real life.
Let us now move to our next topic, the power of silence. We already mentioned that silence can feel uncomfortable, but we want you to think about silence differently today. We want you to see silence as a tool, a very powerful tool that most people are too afraid to use.
This is true. Think about a difficult question. Maybe someone asks you something to make you feel small. Maybe they challenge you in front of other people. Maybe they say something that is not fair. Most people immediately try to answer. They stumble over their words, they look nervous, they justify themselves quickly, and ironically, this fast reaction often makes them seem less confident than more.
But now imagine a different response. Someone asks you a difficult question or says something unkind, and you simply look at them. You breathe slowly, you don't rush to answer, you let the silence sit in the room, and after a few seconds, you speak quietly and clearly with just a few well-chosen words. What happens in that room?
Everyone pays attention to you because you are not afraid of the silence. And when you are not afraid of silence, it tells the room something very important. It tells them that you are comfortable, you are in control, you don't need their approval, you don't need to defend yourself in a hurry. And this quality, this composure, is magnetic. People are drawn to it.
Composure. This is one of our key vocabulary words today. Composure means staying calm and in control in a difficult situation. If you have composure, you do not fall apart under pressure. Imagine a great athlete at an important moment in the game. Everyone is watching, the pressure is high, but the athlete breathes, they focus, they perform. That's composure. And composure is not just for athletes. You can bring composure into your conversations, your meetings, your relationships, your daily life.
The opposite of composure is panic. And panic is very visible. When we panic, we speak too fast, we use too many words, we repeat ourselves, we make mistakes. But when we have composure, we speak slowly, clearly, and with confidence. And this is wonderful news for our English learners listening right now, because speaking slowly and clearly is also the best way to speak English well.
That brings us perfectly to our next section, which is the body language of calm. Because calm is not just about what you say. It is also about how you stand, how you move, how you breathe, and where you look. These things are all part of your communication, even before you say a single word.
Let us start with eye contact. Eye contact is so powerful. When you maintain steady eye contact with someone, it shows them that you are present, you are listening, you are not afraid of them. Many people look away when they feel uncomfortable or when they feel challenged, and this is natural, but it can also send a message that you are nervous. When you keep your gaze steady and calm, it shows an inner strength that people feel immediately.
Steady eye contact does not mean staring aggressively. It means looking at the person with a warm, confident focus. It means you are there with them in the conversation, fully. You are not looking at your phone, you are not looking at the floor, you are present. And the word presence is very important here. Presence means being fully in the moment, fully aware, fully there. When a person has a strong presence, other people feel it, they sense it, they remember it.
Next is breathing. This might sound very simple, but it is actually one of the most powerful things you can control in any situation. When we are nervous or stressed, our breathing becomes short and fast. You may notice that your shoulders rise up, your chest tightens, your voice might even shake a little.
This is because shallow breathing activates the part of your body that is designed for danger. Your body thinks there is an emergency and it tries to prepare you to run or fight.
But when you breathe slowly and deeply, your body receives a very different message. It receives a message that says, everything is okay. You are safe. You are calm. A slow, deep breath in through the nose, a slow, controlled breath out. This simple action can lower your heart rate, relax your muscles, and help you think more clearly. And when you think more clearly, your English also becomes clearer. You remember the words you need, you speak with more confidence.
I actually had this experience when I first started speaking English with native speakers. I would get so nervous that my mind would go completely blank. Words I knew very well would just disappear. I would open my mouth and nothing would come out. Does that sound familiar to anyone listening?
I think everyone who has learned a language has felt that. The brain is working so hard that it shuts down other things. And the reason is stress. When we feel stressed or anxious, a part of our brain called the amygdala takes over. It is the part that deals with danger. And when the amygdala is very active, the thinking part of the brain, the part that stores language and vocabulary, becomes quieter. This is the science behind why we forget English when we are nervous.
And this is exactly why staying calm is not just good for your personality, it's actually good for your English. When you calm your breathing, when you slow down, when you take that pause before speaking, your thinking brain wakes back up. Your vocabulary comes back. Your sentences become more organized. Your pronunciation improves. Calmness is literally a language learning tool.
Let us now talk about moving slowly. This is something that many people do not think about. The way you move sends a message. People who are nervous tend to move quickly. They fidget. They shift their weight from foot to foot. They touch their face. They blink quickly. These small movements tell the people around you that you are not fully at ease. But people who are calm tend to move slowly and deliberately. Deliberately means on purpose, with awareness. They do not rush. They do not fidget. They turn their head slowly. They pick up their coffee cup slowly. They sit down slowly. And all of these small things add up to a very powerful impression.
There's a very interesting idea that the way you move affects the way you feel inside. If you are feeling anxious but you choose to move slowly and breathe deeply, your feelings of anxiety actually begin to decrease. Your body and your mind are connected. When you change one, you change the other. So if you want to feel calm, one of the fastest ways to get there is to simply slow down your movements.
Now let us go deeper. Let us talk about inner peace and outer noise, because the real challenge of staying calm is not staying calm when everything around you is peaceful. That's easy. The real challenge is staying calm when everything around you is loud, chaotic, and difficult. When people are arguing, when there is conflict, when someone is being very unkind, when you are under a deadline, when you feel pressure from many directions at once.
And this is where the practice of calmness becomes something truly special, because if you can stay calm in the middle of the storm, you are not just practicing good manners or good communication, you are practicing something much deeper. You are practicing what some people call equanimity. Equanimity is a beautiful English word. It comes from Latin and it means mental calmness, especially in difficult situations. Equanimity is when you can stay balanced no matter what is happening around you.
Think about the image of a candle flame. When there is no wind, the flame burns straight and still. But when the wind comes, the flame flickers, it moves, it bends. Most people are like that candle. Every strong wind, every harsh word, every stressful situation makes their flame flicker. But with practice, you can become like a candle inside a glass. The glass does not block the light. You can still see the flame, but the wind cannot reach it. The flame stays still. That's equanimity. That's inner peace.
I love that image, the candle inside the glass. And I think the glass is made from our daily practices, from our breathing, from our silence, from our choosing calm words. Every time we practice these things, we make the glass a little stronger.
Now let us talk about how you can bring this inner peace into your English conversations specifically, because for many of our listeners, the most anxious moments happen when they need to speak English. Maybe it's a job interview, maybe it's an important meeting, maybe it's speaking with a native English speaker for the first time and feeling that terrible fear of making a mistake.
Oh, yes, the fear of making mistakes. This is huge. Many English learners stop speaking completely because they're so afraid of saying something wrong. And the irony is that this fear of mistakes is the biggest mistake of all, because it stops all progress. It keeps you frozen. And the only way forward is through. You have to speak, you have to make the mistakes, and you have to be calm enough to keep speaking even when you make them.
This is where the observation method becomes very useful. We want to introduce this idea now. The observation method means treating a difficult situation like a scientist or a curious observer, rather than someone who is deeply inside the problem. When you are inside a problem, when you are what we call reactive, everything feels personal. Every mistake feels like a disaster. Every silence feels like failure. Every judgment from another person feels like the end of the world.
But when you practice the observation method, you step back slightly, not physically, but mentally. You become a kind of quiet, curious watcher. You notice what is happening. You notice how you feel. You notice what other people are doing, but you do not grab onto those feelings and make them bigger. You simply observe them, the way you might watch clouds passing across the sky. You notice the cloud, you see it, but you do not try to hold it. You let it pass.
This idea connects to a very old way of thinking. The Stoic philosophers from ancient Greece and Rome talked about this very much. The word Stoic in English today means someone who can endure difficulty without showing their feelings or complaining. A Stoic person is someone who has accepted that many things in life are outside their control. And because they have accepted this, they do not waste their energy fighting against those things. They focus only on what they can control, their thoughts, their words, their actions.
Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher. He wrote something very simple and very powerful. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And I think this is true. The moment you accept that you cannot control what others say or do, but you can control how you respond, everything changes. You stop fighting the weather. You simply put on a coat.
That is beautifully said. And this connects to our next key vocabulary word, non-reactive. Non-reactive describes someone who does not immediately react to what is happening around them. Non-reactive people choose their responses. They are not robots, they feel things, but they do not let those feelings drive the car. They stay in the driver's seat. They hold the steering wheel. They choose the direction.
I want to go back to something you said earlier about the observation method, Anna. You said to treat a situation like a movie you were watching rather than a fire you were inside of. Can you say more about that? I think our listeners would find that very helpful.
Of course. Imagine the most stressful situation you can think of. Maybe a very difficult conversation. Maybe a moment where someone is very angry at you and saying things that feel unfair. Now, when you are inside that situation, it feels enormous. It feels like the only thing in the universe. Your heart is racing, your mind is full of noise. You cannot think clearly. Everything feels urgent and dangerous.
Yes, that feeling is so familiar, like the walls are closing in.
Exactly. Now, here's what the observation method asks you to do. In that moment, you take a quiet breath, and you imagine that you're sitting in a comfortable cinema seat and the situation you are in is playing on the screen in front of you. You can see it all. You can see yourself in the situation, you can see the other person, you can hear the words being said, but you are watching it from a distance. You are the observer, not the victim, not the fighter, the curious, calm, safe observer.
And what does this do?
It creates space, that same reaction gap we talked about earlier. When you see yourself in the movie, rather than feeling that you are the movie, you gain perspective. Perspective means the ability to see a situation clearly and understand its true size. Most situations that feel like emergencies in the moment look very small from a distance. The observation method gives you that distance, even while you are still in the room.
So in practice, if someone is saying something difficult to me, I breathe, I imagine I am watching this scene in a movie, and I ask myself, what would a calm, wise person do in this scene?
Exactly. And often the answer is they would speak less. They would listen more. They would not raise their voice. They would ask a quiet, thoughtful question. They would choose one or two words very carefully. They would let the silence work for them. Because silence, as we said earlier, is one of the most powerful tools available to a calm person.
This also connects so well to English learning. When you are in an English conversation and you feel panic beginning to rise, instead of trying to speak faster or use more words to cover your nervousness, you can use the observation method. You can step back mentally. You can breathe. You can remind yourself that this is just a conversation. It's not a test of your worth. It's just an exchange of words. And from that calmer place, the English comes more naturally.
There's actually a very interesting connection between calmness and memory. When we are anxious, the stress hormone called cortisol rises in our body. High cortisol levels make it harder to access memories and learned information, including vocabulary, including grammar patterns, including pronunciation rules, all the things we have studied and practiced. But when we are calm, cortisol levels are lower. The brain is more open, more connected, more creative. Language flows more freely.
So the best thing you can do before an important English conversation or presentation is not to study more vocabulary. It is to calm your nervous system, to breathe, to move slowly, to remind yourself that you are safe, you are prepared, and mistakes are simply part of the beautiful process of learning.
Beautiful process. I love that phrase. And that's a wonderful reframe. A reframe means looking at something in a new way that changes how you feel about it. Instead of seeing a mistake as evidence that you are not good enough, you can reframe it as evidence that you are brave enough to try, brave enough to speak. And that bravery, combined with calmness, is an extraordinary combination.
Let us also talk for a moment about tranquility, because this is another wonderful word related to our topic today. Tranquility means a state of deep calm, a peaceful, quiet feeling. Tranquility is not just for meditation or nature walks. Tranquility can be something you carry inside you, even in busy, noisy places, even in difficult conversations, even in challenging situations. When you practice calmness daily, tranquility becomes a part of who you are, rather than just something you experience in quiet moments.
And this daily practice is so important. Calmness is not something that appears automatically. It is something you build, like a muscle. Every day you practice. You notice when you feel the reaction rising. You breathe. You pause. You choose. And slowly, gradually, your default setting begins to shift. What once required great effort begins to feel natural. And one day, you realize that you have become the calm person in the room, the one that others look to when things get difficult, the one whose presence makes other people feel safer.
I find that people actually trust calm people more. Is that true for you, Anna?
Absolutely. Think about who you trust in a crisis. It is not usually the person who is shouting or panicking. It's the person who is breathing steadily, the person who speaks slowly and clearly, the person who listens before they respond. We instinctively trust calm people because their calmness signals to us that they have the situation under control, that they can see clearly, that they will not make impulsive decisions driven by panic.
And the interesting thing is, even if they are not fully in control, their calmness helps everyone else calm down too. It's contagious. Calm is contagious, and so is panic. But we get to choose which one we spread.
Which one will you choose? That is really the heart of everything we have discussed today. Because at the end of the day, calmness is not a personality type that some people are born with and others are not. It is a choice. It is a daily practice. It is a set of very small decisions made over and over again. The decision to breathe before speaking. The decision to listen before responding. The decision to value silence over noise. The decision to move slowly when everything around you is rushing.
And every morning when you wake up, you have a new opportunity to make that choice, before the day begins, before the messages come in, before the noise starts. You can sit for even just 2 or 3 minutes in stillness. You can breathe. You can set an intention for how you want to move through the day. You can say to yourself, today I will be the calm in the storm. Today I will be unshakable. Today I will choose my responses rather than let my reactions choose for me.
That is the final message we want to leave with you today. Calmness is a choice you make every morning, and the more you make it, the easier it becomes. And as you develop this quiet strength, something wonderful will begin to happen. People will notice. They won't always know why, but they will feel it. They will feel drawn to you. They will trust you more. They will listen more carefully when you speak, because your words are not cheap. You do not throw them around carelessly. You choose them.
And for our English learners, we want to say this very directly. The calmer you are, the better your English will be. Not because calm people are smarter, but because calm people have access to their full mind. Their memory works better. Their pronunciation is clearer. Their sentences are more organized. Their listening is deeper. Everything works better when the nervous system is at peace.
So today we have learned about the reaction gap, that precious space between what happens and how you respond. We have talked about the power of silence and how not rushing to speak can make you the most powerful person in the room. We have explored the body language of calm, steady eyes, slow movements, deep breathing. We have looked at inner peace and how to maintain it even in outer noise. We have discovered the observation method, stepping back to watch the situation rather than being consumed by it. And we have connected all of this to English learning because calm and fluency grow in the same soil.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Every moment you spend learning, practicing, and growing is an investment in yourself. And choosing calmness is one of the greatest investments you can ever make. Not just for your English, but for your whole life.
Remember the iceberg, the small, calm tip that the world sees above the water, and beneath it, a vast, powerful, silent strength that holds everything in place. That's you. That's who you are becoming with every breath you take, every pause you choose, and every moment of stillness you practice.
Be calm. Be unshakable. Be the kind of person whose silence speaks louder than other people's noise.
This is the English Journey. I'm Anna.
And I'm Abel. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, breathe slowly, move gently, and speak with intention.
Take care of yourselves and keep walking on your English journey one calm step at a time.